What is the worst thing someone has said to you during sex? Oh man, my then boyfriend, I'm a girl, I were going at it. I'm super into dirty talk, and I was really into it, and blurted out I can't wait to put my dong in your mouth. We had to take a 20-second timeout for release the giggle fits, and then commenced again. Made an account for this one. I definitely told my ex I like the way she feels inside me. I'm a guy and she was not inside me. During a session with my girlfriend at the time, who I was thoroughly in love with, I love the way you feel inside me. You're the biggest I've ever had. I almost feel bad for the next guy I end up with. My sense of security wasn't the only thing deflated at that moment. Dude. Going at it with a guy and he gets a case of the whiskey dong. No worries, I'll take care of that. Start giving him a BJ and after some effort he rises to the occasion. Tells me, wow, you could suck a corpse back to life. Thanks, I think. My grandpa's funeral is this Friday. If you could find it in your heart and mouth to bring him back to us, I would be so grateful. I said this once after about 10 pumps. Surprise, then I came all over her stomach. It was to cover my embarrassment at coming so quickly. One time things were getting hot and heavy with my girlfriend. She whispers my name into my ear, and, for some reason, I still don't know why, I proceed to whisper my own name back into her ear, extremely sensually. Needless to say, no sex was had that night. I had a long, sad laugh at this because it sounds like something I would do. Not me, but an old friend of mine. Really quiet, soft-spoken, polite guy, a total gentleman and a graduate student in the liberal arts. Also, pretty inexperienced, tentative, and vanilla sexually. He's dating this really cool girl for maybe 2 months. She is much kinkier in bed. She floats the idea of dirty talk, and apparently likes to be objectified, even demeaned a bit, from time to time. He's hesitant, but wants to please her and doesn't dismiss the idea outright. Changes the subject and figures that they'll revisit the idea another time. Anyway, they have sex a few days later for the first time since the conversation. Really going at it doggy style, and she tells him to talk dirty to her. He says that he can't think of anything to say, so he says nothing, and she then repeats the request. But the second time she is not freaking requesting, but demanding it. He comes up with, yeah, you like that, you freaking retard. He's never struck me as one for embellishment, so I believe him. He said that was it for sex that night, although they are still together 2 years on now. If a guy said that to me I wouldn't be able to finish from laughing so hard. Not the worst but definitely weird. My GF's brother and I have the same name. After learning this amazing fact, the next few times we had sex his face would pop into my mind whenever she called out my name. Maybe you're both thinking of him. My boyfriend said pee sad after a series of giggle fits during sex. He then got up and hit me in the eye with his dong. Yeah, that's why there's laws regarding ages. Jesus. Every other girl I've been with would have CM by now. It was in Czech Republic. I hit a shelf during sex with my head. The girl turned to me and said "Pozor." The case is that in Czech it means, be careful. However, in my mother tongue this literally means shame of you. I was so embarrassed. I said this to a girl once on accident, but she probably doesn't use this site, so oh well. She was a bigger girl but I didn't mind at all. We were going at it with foreplay and such for a little before I started fricking her from behind, and while I did I grabbed her love handles for support. Well, apparently she wasn't pleased that I did because she looks back at me and tells me not to grab her fat, and sadly the only thing I thought to say was that doesn't leave me much to work with. Edit. Well, I just quadrupled my comment karma for being a thoughtless butthole. I guess being yourself really pays off. Holy crap. I once drunkenly hooked up with a guy I'd been friends with for a couple of years. We were at a party at his place and the music was loud enough to be heard from the bedroom, so we didn't turn any on when we started fooling around. Everything was going great. We had moved on to the actual sex when he starts softly singing. It's not the song that's playing out in the living room either. He just decided to start singing, and he's getting louder and louder until he's really belting it out. BYYYY by Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. It was odd. After that, I'm sure the levee was dry. Back in high school, my BF at the time stopped in the middle of it to look down at me and seductively whisper, "Dang, you do look just like your mom," and then kept going. I mean, come on, really? My now husband said he loved me the first time we had sex. We hadn't been dating that long. He denies it, but I swear it happened. Not during sex. During foreplay. Was with a girl I was interested in. It was our second date, really, just the second time we hung out, and we ended up parked in a secluded spot. We hopped into the back seat and started getting frisky. After a bit she stripped completely naked and made clear she wanted to have sex. Thought I'd go in for a bit of muff diving before the main event. I enjoy it, and usually girls do too. So I started heading south, and just before I got to it she pulls my head up and says, "No, please. I only let my friends do that." WTF. I mean, if you don't want cunnilingus, fine. Just tell me. But the absurdity of the "I only let my friends do that" just killed the mood, and I couldn't get back into it. We talked a few more times after, but that was essentially it for us. Sometimes, being in the friend zone has its advantages. My sister is so much prettier than me, followed swiftly by tears. "Yeah, but you'll always be my silver medal, babe." That's my stomach. It was my first time and she was a bit overweight. I just stuck it where it felt the best. So, do you wanna just, like, cuddle instead? I'm a girl, by the way. Straddling someone you thought you were about to have sex with for the first time, after you've been seeing them for 4 months, in nothing but a lace thong, and getting us to just cuddle. Let's just say it's quite the confidence killer. I was 20, he was 25. You might have intimidated his boner. This crap happens. 2 nights ago, about halfway through, this girl asked if I was a virgin. As a college guy, this was basically the biggest blow to my self-confidence I can think of. Not so much what she said during, but the morning after, when she was wrapped around me like some sort of human anaconda. I said I should leave, and she said, "Which one of us does mixed martial arts and is a black belt in karate again?" "Oh, not you." 2 weeks later I proceeded to move to another country, not because of her, but it sure as heck didn't make it any harder. My girlfriend and I are into martial arts. I do Muay Thai and she does Hapkido. While we were first dating, we went to a party. We play wrestled at first, then it turned into sparring. She thought it would be a good idea to cuddle me while she had me in a chokehold with her legs as a cute joke. Needless to say, I passed out and an ambulance had to be called. I think she's a keeper. He yelled out, "Who's your daddy?" I was going to ignore that he said that, but he then said, "Fricking tell me, who's your daddy?" I had to answer that he was. I have no issues with my father. He's a normal dad. So, that was really uncomfortable. I was banging my GF at the time, and she has this stupid tiny dog and a small bed. Well, we are banging and I pull out and start jerking it to blow my loaf on her, except I start falling off the bed. So I fall off and start cooling on the bottom sheet thing at the bottom of the bed, cause I can't stop. Then my leg gets a cramp, so I lay there for a second. The thing I had to say next was so terrible. "Hey, can you get your dog? He's eating my CM from off of the side of your bed and I think I broke my leg." She started laughing so bad that I think she just let the dog sit there and eat it. I've just been laughing for the past 20 seconds at blow my loaf. I'll do you so hard, you'll walk with a gimp the rest of your life. Or mid BJ, if you just let me inside of you, it would be less degrading than a blowjob. Advice Mallard, if you're getting a blowjob, don't call it degrading unless you want the girl to leave. It's okay. Don't worry, I totally understand. This was in the middle of sex and, as far as I knew, everything had been going pretty well up until then. It came out of nowhere. For me, anyway. If you don't say something too often, don't say it during sex. Here's a late story for whoever reads this. I'm from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, so everyone's got an accent here, except me. It's a kind of a mild Newfoundland accent and everyone ends everything with B. X, sup B, how's she going there B, yes B. But that changes as soon as I start moving my pelvis. I go full blown caper white boy. We found out when we moved in together and had a fuckload of sex. She complained I was too quiet doing it and told me to tell her dirty things. I was about to CM, so my mind panicked. Then the most hick, white, caper, camo wearing sound came out of my mouth, almost screaming yisbie. We never laughed so hard together ever, and she never lets it go. She makes fun of me occasionally by saying yes be when we squeaketh the bed frame. Squeaketh the bed frame lol. I miss my dad. Bonus points from earlier that night. You smell like my dad. Not my story. I award a credit to my drunk friend having a fling with another not quite as drunk friend. The rest of the night was spent dealing with her uncontrollable crying. I used to have this friend with benefits who was terrible at talking dirty, but tried anyway. I giggle every time I think about her. She was really nice and super hot. I mean, this is one of the most physically beautiful women that I've ever been with, and she was a cool girl to hang with. One particular time that always gets me, she exclaimed, "I love feeling your dong in my vagina." It used to take every fiber of my being to not just crack up and take a quick respite from fricking her. I honestly believe that if she wasn't so physically hot and it didn't feel so good fricking her, that I'd never have been able to maintain my poker face. Sad thing is, she had no clue that she sucked at talking dirty. Should have replied, "I'm gonna fill your hoo-ha with goof juice." She answered the phone, and then had a half-hour conversation with her mother. She didn't understand why I dumped her. That's pretty kinky if you guys kept going. One time during sex my husband was getting close but didn't want to finish yet, so he decides to quote Supernatural, Season 7 Episode 1 where Castiel is trying to hold back the Leviathans. My husband says I can't hold them back in a gravely Castiel voice. I start giggling and then he yells Leviathan super loud and we both crack up laughing. It takes us a couple minutes to get back into the swing of things, but that makes me laugh every time I think about it. Glad to hear we are not the only couple that watches Supernatural together. Now if only we were cool enough to work it into the bedroom talk. Not that exciting, but the strangest thing I've heard was, "I'm gonna get you pregnant." We are both men. It was not sexy. I can only refer this thread to the worst thing I ever said to someone in bed. First time messing around with some random guy. Just laying in bed naked. No sex. Just foreplay stuff. I look down at his junk and see that his balls are pretty dark. Chocolate color. His shaft is very pale. Vanilla color. And his head is pink. Strawberry color. I laughed and said, "Your dong looks Napoleon." His face went totally blank. It took me a solid 30 seconds to realize I meant Neapolitan. I felt so bad. I think the condom broke. I pushed him off and started freaking out. Hahaha. I was just kidding. I wanted to see how you would react. Why are you mad at me? It was just a joke. Lighten up. That is never funny. Ever. Edit to add. Condoms are not just used to prevent pregnancies but also the spread of STDs. I went through a 2-year stage of fun. I am now much more picky in who I sleep with, but at the time I was a bit reckless. My initial thought was I don't want kids with this guy to crap. I know he sleeps around. What if he doesn't test himself? I said this to my girlfriend. I am a guy. And there was a small pause and good hearty laugh from both of us. We have been together for a good while and she is incapable of having children, so we have never used them. I had a FWB one day giving me a BJ and after I finished she said, "You taste really good." I didn't know what to say, and of course the first thing that came out was thanks. Refills are free. Silence came next, then a pity laugh. I love these childbearing hips. Horrible thing to say. Could have just said I like your curves or I like your hips. These breasts could feed like 10 of my children. Am I the biggest guy you've been with? He worked out, was on the rugby team, had huge arms and chest, but he had this terribly tiny dong. All guys I'd been with were bigger. I didn't say anything. After a long pause he was all, "I mean, am I the most built guy you've been with?" That he was. After he finished he finger banged me until I did, which was nice of him. Me and my at the time girlfriend were fooling around in bed. She whispered in my ear at one point saying, "I'm feeling really dirty tonight," as I replied with, "Yeah, you should probably take a shower eventually." No sex was done that night, or the following week. My so have been together for over 2 years now. We dated 10 years ago before this time but broke up because we were young and acting crazy. Stayed in touch and couldn't be happier, now we're together again. Rewind. First time around we were having sex. His phone rang. He answered it. While in me, it was his ex and I heard her ask what he was doing. He said nothing. I lost it. Turns out she was young and had been acting suicidal. He felt like he had to answer. We laugh about it now and his ex is married with kids and we're all cool. Honest concern that came across as the most fricked up thing anyone has ever said during sex. I'm gonna go with you're not even a man. You're just a little boy. My ex used to beat me, but at least he knew how to frick me. I'm just going to shrivel up and die remembering that now, and never have sex again. Get off me. The others don't like it. One night stand with a girl with multiple personality disorder, or at least, believes she has multiple personality disorder, as it seemed to be the cool thing amongst her social group. I found out. Moral: don't stick it in crazy. Like really guys, don't. Even if it sounds like a good idea or she's hot, no. Back in 2010, I was going out with this girl who was somewhat an otaku game, a complete freaking nutcase. Many other problems aside, one big problem was that she was in love with Riku from Kingdom Hearts. As in actually in love, not just platonical love. I should have run and screamed for my life when I heard this, but in an act of sadical stupidity I didn't. Anyway, one day during some rather bad sex, she suddenly started moaning Riku, Riku, then pushed me aside to masturbate while groaning that name until she came. To prove my increasing foolishness during that period of my life, I didn't leave her until about a month or so after that event. That's just one of many tales of my rather unstable and psychotic ex-girlfriend. TL. DR. XGF preferred to imagine her keyhole being opened by Riku from Kingdom Hearts. As he was cooming he yelled Zetus Lapetus, which I found out was an expression of exclamation from the popular Disney movie Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century 1999. When I was early 20s, if you come in my mouth, I'm going to bite your dong off. I'm serious. Then proceeds to vigorously blow me like it had the antidote inside. Inexperienced me just did not know what the frick to do. My brain was melting, and at the same time I was very put off by this. Ended up just stopping her after a while. It was very awkward. Tell me you're my B. I wanna hear it. Say you're a B. I'm a dude. She seemed really sweet until her clothes came off. I have never lost an erection that quickly in my life. Lame. She sounds awesome. Just read this whole thread and I'm about to go to sleep. Then the soft words of a madman trance through my mind. Yeah, you like that, you freaking retard? My ex used to look at the clock before and after and tell me with a disgusted look on her face how long it lasted, and then stomp off to the bathroom. We are now divorced and my problem went away when she did. After I lost my virginity to this beautiful, amazing girl, we were both resting in the afterglow. There was this perfect silence, and I broke it when I said, you know, if you were ever kidnapped and sold into sex slavery, you'd be pick of the litter. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.